we get in rotations and then we're not holding our one-on-one. So I have the feeling it's a mix of both. Then there are fouls at the rim where we don't have to foul, and we're doing some.
The rain was coming down in relentless sheets that Thursday afternoon in Indianapolis, the sort of cold, punishing downpour that normally sends people hurrying for shelter with coats pulled tight and heads bent against the wind. Yet there was one woman who didn't run. She simply sat on a drenched bus stop bench, soaked through but strangely composed, holding a small plastic container of food as though it were something precious and fragile, something she couldn't afford to lose or delay. That was when Caitlin Clark's driver had to stop at the red light directly in front of her. And what Caitlin did in the following 60 seconds would change not only this woman's life, but would set in motion a chain of events that no one, least of all Caitlin, could have foreseen, proving that sometimes the quietest moments of compassion create the largest, most unexpected waves. Caitlin had been exhausted, mentally and physically, after a demanding day of WNBA training. The season was merciless, the schedule tight, and all she wanted was a hot shower and the comfort of her sofa. So she sat in the back seat scrolling absently through her phone, barely aware of the blurred world outside her tinted window. But then Marcus, her usually soft-spoken driver, said something that made her look up instantly. "Miss Clark, you see that lady over there?" His tone was different, gentle, troubled, the kind that signals someone has seen something they cannot ignore. Caitlin peered through the rain-splattered glass and saw her. A black woman, perhaps in her late 50s, sitting utterly still despite the downpour, dressed in what looked like a worn housekeeping uniform, dark blue with a small name tag reading Gloria. Her hair was plastered to her head, rivulets of water running down her face and dripping from her chin. Yet she made no attempt to seek shelter. She just sat there, silently enduring the storm, methodically eating from the little plastic container on her lap. Rice, maybe leftovers from the night before. Her hands trembling, whether from cold, hunger, or sheer fatigue, Caitlin couldn't tell. But there was something in the way Gloria held her body, a quiet dignity, a kind of resilience that radiated even through the rain, and it made Caitlin's chest tighten with a sharp, unmistakable pang of concern. Sometimes you witness something so small and quiet that it slices through all the noise of your own life. This was one of those moments. "Pull over," Caitlin said suddenly, before she'd even fully processed the thought. The light turned green, but Marcus eased the car to the curb without hesitation. Caitlin grabbed an umbrella and stepped out into the storm, the cold slap of rain soaking her trainers within seconds. But she didn't care. She walked towards the bus stop, holding the umbrella over both of them as she crouched slightly. "Ma'am," she said gently, "why are you sitting out here in this rain?" Gloria lifted her head slowly, really seeing Caitlin for the first time, then glanced down at her small meal container. "Bus doesn't come for another 40 minutes, she said matter-of-factly, "and my break's only 30 minutes. If I don't eat now, I don't eat until tonight." Caitlin felt something inside her crack open. This woman was choosing between keeping dry and having her only meal of the day. "Where do you work?" she asked softly. "Medical building across the street," Gloria replied. "I've been cleaning there 12 years now. Good job. Steady." There was unmistakable pride in her voice. "So why sit out here?" Caitlin asked. "Doesn't the building have a break room?" Gloria's eyes dropped to the ground. "It does," she said quietly. "But some of the office staff, they don't like when I sit in there. Makes them uncomfortable, they say. So I come out here instead." The words hung between them, heavy and painful, carried by the rain like an accusation. Gloria wasn't just cold and hungry. She was being pushed aside, excluded from a room she had every right to sit in simply because she swept its floors rather than worked at one of its desks. "What's your name?" Caitlin asked gently. "Gloria. Gloria Richardson." Caitlin smiled softly. "I'm Caitlin." Gloria let out a faint, warm laugh despite everything. "Oh, honey, I know who you are. My grandson, he loves watching you play. Says you've got magic in your hands." "What's his name?" "Marcus," she said proudly. "He's 10. Smart as anything but basketball obsessed. Lives with me now. Been with me since my daughter passed 3 years ago. He's the reason I keep going." And suddenly, Caitlin saw her differently. Not just as a woman eating in the rain, but as a grandmother raising a child alone, carrying financial stress, grief, and responsibility with no one to lighten the load. Working a job where even basic dignity was denied to her. The injustice of it burned inside Caitlin. "Gloria," she said gently, "would you allow me to help you?" Gloria sat up straighter. "I don't take charity, Miss Clark. I work for everything I got." "I know you do," Caitlin replied quickly. "This isn't charity. It's one person seeing another person in a hard moment and wanting to help." Over the next hour, as Marcus drove them through the rainy city, Caitlin sitting beside Gloria in the back seat, she learned about a life built on quiet heroism. Double shifts to afford school supplies for her grandson, skipped meals so he could eat, evenings spent helping him with homework despite being bone-tired, nights crying quietly so he wouldn't hear her, mornings waking before dawn to catch the bus because she couldn't afford a car. And the uniform, the one she wore with pride, was the same one that made others treat her as though she were less than them. By the time Marcus pulled up outside Gloria's modest flat, Caitlin had already made a decision that would alter everything. She arranged for Gloria to receive reliable transportation through a community initiative she funded, ensured she had hot meals delivered twice a week, spoke with the medical building's management about staff conduct, and most importantly, she befriended Gloria not out of obligation but out of genuine admiration. Within months, young Marcus had joined a youth basketball program sponsored by Caitlin, excelling in school and training, while Gloria finally experienced dignity and stability she had been denied for years. And it all began with one moment at a bus stop in the rain. A reminder that the world changes not always through grand gestures, but through seeing the unseen, hearing the unheard, and choosing kindness when no—
Which is actually a really good one, so I wanted to keep taking those. And then, I mean, it's the same with Reek, like, these are one of the best.
The night Caitlin Clark followed Gloria and little Marcus home, even though exhaustion had blurred the older woman's eyes to the point where she could hardly see the pavement beneath her feet, marked the beginning of a transformation neither of them could have predicted, because when they reached Gloria's modest but impeccably kept flat in an aging complex, Marcus barreled through the door only to freeze mid-stride at the sight of Caitlin sitting calmly at the kitchen table, prompting him to whisper, wide-eyed, "Grandma, is that?" And Gloria, with a mix of pride and disbelief, answered, "Yes, baby, this is Miss Caitlin." At which point Marcus's face lit up like Christmas morning as he blurted, "You're like the best player ever. Can you shoot from anywhere?" To which Caitlin simply smiled and replied, "Want me to show you sometime?" And that, quite unexpectedly, was the true beginning, not with a check, not with a charity photo, but with Caitlin returning the following week with a basketball under her arm and spending 2 full hours in the cracked parking area of the complex, teaching Marcus footwork, balance, and the kind of patience that builds not just athletes but character. She came the week after that, and the week after, until she learned things that changed her entire understanding of the world. How Marcus had never attended a proper basketball camp because the cheapest one cost more than what Gloria earned in 2 months. How he practiced with a ball whose lines had faded to ghosts. How his dream wasn't fame or wealth but simply to make his grandmother proud. And it was then Caitlin realized she had been thinking far too small. "What if," she said to her agent over coffee one Tuesday morning, "we started a foundation, not just for this family, but for every Gloria out there, every grandparent raising a second generation with courage but without resources." 3 months later, the Richardson Foundation launched, drawing a packed press conference where Caitlin insisted Gloria and Marcus sit front and center while she told their story, not as a tale of pity, but as a testament to dignity, endurance, and the unseen strength of working grandparents everywhere. The foundation provided practical support, assistance with legal issues, connections to community resources, and funding for children's educational and developmental programs, and the impact was immediate. Marcus flourished under proper training, his confidence blooming as his skills sharpened. Gloria, now working part-time as the foundation's director,